Hey, Shalom Akim. First, vamos give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Kudash, double honors under the Elders Apostle Green Millstone, the Elders Green Millstone, and of course, peace and blessings under the hopeful elect, the sincere servants of Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, serving with truth and sincerity. Yes, I'm the brother Chayaba from G-Max Plaintable's Camp. Come back with another lesson new spirit. This lesson be based off this article from nationalnews.com. This is entitled, it says, China rapidly expanding its nuclear arsenal, seeks to dominate Asia by 2035. And hey, Esau likes to put these high numbers, but hey, that's if, we have the loan. We already know all these things are popping off. And ultimately Trump's in office. So, us we're starting with our elder apostles, Green Millstone on down. We don't see this place going on till 2035. But hey, what, the Lord's speeding up the times. And biblically, of course, what China is known as Moab, and ultimately what the scriptures prophesy how there will be a war, and it's inevitable. You can't stop it. So it says China is rapidly expanding its nuclear arsenal, projected to exceed 1,000 warheads by 2030. It says, and developing advanced capabilities like hypersonic missiles and a full nuclear triad, shifting from minimum deterrence to strategic dominance in Asia. It says Beijing aims to undermine U.S. alliances by sowing doubt over America's willingness to defend partners, e.g., Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, in nuclear conflict, pressuring them into strategic passivity. It says investments in hypersonic missiles, orbital bombardment systems, or FOBs. It says, and mobile launchers ensure a survivable second strike capability, enabling coercion without direct conflict. And they, of course, will be bringing this out as prophets, as watchmen of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Of course, what to warn the people that, again, this war is coming and it's not stopping. Trump isn't going to solve anything. Trump isn't going to resolve anything, create world peace. No, it's going to keep on getting worse. It says Joel chapter 3 and 9. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare a war, wake up the mighty men. It says, wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Yeah. And that's exactly what the Gentiles are doing, the heathen nations. They're preparing war. It says, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. And that's what's ultimately what war is being prepared, man. So this is why you don't see this stopping. It's because it will happen, and it's not going to stop. Going back to the article, it says China exploits regional anxieties, pressuring Japan on Taiwan, threatening the Philippines over U.S. missile deployments, and keeping South Korea focused on North Korea to isolate U.S. influence. It says the U.S. is urged to strengthen allied conventional forces, expose China's coercive tactics, and prevent nuclear blackmail. It says inaction could irreversibly shift power in Beijing's favor. So hey. And again, this war happened, and it's already prophesied who's going to lose this war. Just going to get real quick. It says, Revelation chapter 17 and 1, and there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying, come hither, and I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth had committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth had been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. Yeah, and we know that great whore, when you keep on going in. Well, let's keep on reading. It says, verse 3, so he carried me away, or it says, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. It says, and the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. Yeah, and of course, who's this great whore? Who's that woman? Let's keep on reading. It says, verse 5, and upon her forehead was name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. Yeah, exactly. So we know that great whore, that woman, sitting upon with this scarlet-colored beast, that's Babylon. Or of course, that's Babylon Great. But what is the modern day Babylon? What's Babylon the Great? That's America. When you read all these descriptions, if it's America, because America is known as that nation where all these other nations used to get rich, to obtain their wealth. And you'll see not only have these other nations, making, we see the trade deals that they made, but not only that, but also them implementing the ways of America within their own countries. They might have their own traditions, but you'll see how, a lot of the ways of America have polluted these other nations. The alphabet lifestyle, the corporate lifestyle, just the system, how the system works. You'll see how these other nations took of it. Infrastructure, it all, but ultimately it all matches up. So we know that this place, Babylon the Great, it is America. It says, going back to verse 3, it says, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names and blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And ultimately what the scarlet-colored beast, having 7 heads, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns, what that represents the EU and the NATO. And you know what? Of course, America's at the top, so they have control and influence over these other nations. Skipping down to verse 15, it says, and he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest where the whore sitteth are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. It says, verse 16, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So what? That whore, Babylon the Great, which again is America, all the descriptions that pretty much what describe Babylon the Great, it matches up with America. So it's prophesied how these other nations, so these other nations are gonna turn their backs on America. The ones who have these alliances with this place, they're gonna turn their backs, and they're gonna join China, Russia, Iran into decimating America. But it says, Revelation chapter 11 and 14, the second woe was past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. So this is coming quickly, and it won't stop. And again, we don't believe this place will go on to 2035. We believe this to happen a lot sooner. It says Jeremiah chapter 59, and also what this. The scripture just said how this place will be burned with fire. What type of fire you think it's going to be burned with? Well, let's read this. It says, verse 9 of Jeremiah chapter 50. For lo, I raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. The arrow should be as of a mighty expert man, and none shall return in vain. Yeah, so it says, for lo, I raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country. The great nations, or the north country, is Russia, and the assembly of great nations is the Russian Federation. It says, and they shall set themselves in array against her. Yeah, they're going to surround this place. It says, from thence she should be taken. The arrow should be as of a mighty expert man, none shall return in vain. Yeah. So that's what's going to happen. Of course, what's the modern day arrow? Because obviously, again, the prophets were using the best terms that they had back then, when they were being given these visions. And, being, given these prophecies. They had to use the best terms they had to describe these things that they were seeing. So, of course, we know the modern day arrow to be the nuclear missile. I mean, well, of course, it says the arrow should be as of a mighty expert man, none shall return in vain. Yeah, and of course, we know what these missiles, ultimately what these missiles, they have a highly advanced targeting system. So as soon as they're shot, they're going straight for the target. And ultimately, once World War III pops off, which again, we're in the very beginning stages of World War III, all we're waiting for is that climax, which is the nuclear war. Once the nuclear war pops off, and these other nations launch their missiles, the Spirit of the Lord is going to be in those missiles, and the Lord is going to direct them exactly where they need to go. So and they won't return. As soon as they're shot, boom, that's it. And we know, of course, how Yahweh Bashim Yashai will deliver the elect of the nation of Israel, the remnant, from that destruction. This is Revelation chapter 18:4. It says, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. Yeah. So the Lord's people are the Israelites, my people. And then it's like all people on the planet Earth. It said, my people, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. And that's going to be when America is being destroyed. The Lord will deliver the elect of the nation of Israel, the elect Israelites, from that destruction, so that they don't be destroyed in it. The Lord is what's going to come back. Get him real quick. Matthew 24 and 30. Yeah, 30. Well, Matthew. So it says in Matthew chapter 24 and 30, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. It says, and he shall send his angels with the sound of a great trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Yeah, and ultimately that's what's going to happen. So the Lord's going to come back at that right exact moment, to deliver the elect of the nation of Israel from that destruction. And the Lord's going to send his angels to deliver them. So we don't just bring this out to bring it out. Again, we're bringing it out because World War III will happen. But, somebody might hear this, so what's going to happen? Hey, ultimately, the elect of the nation of Israel, they're going to be good. And that's all we're concerned about. Of course, we hope to be a part of the remnant that the Lord will save the elect Israelites. So, that's what we're waiting for. And these things must come to pass. These things must happen in order for Yahweh to make his return. Of course, ultimately, World War III, that main prophecy we're waiting for before World War III is the implementation of the mark of the beast. Once that happens, hey, that's it. Once Esau mandates that mark, you won't be able to buy or sell unless you have that implant, the C-hip. Hey, World War III will soon come. Ultimately, the door will be open for World War III. Of course, the climax, the nuclear war. Yeah, so Yeah, I believe that's the point. Those of you that are edified. Yahweh Bashim Yahshua Bashim Kakwadash Brakathum. Shalom.